The house stood silent when I stepped through the door that Christmas Eve, save for my 81-year-old grandfather sitting motionless beside the fireplace, as though he had been waiting for me all his life. On the kitchen counter lay a note from my mother. It was not a request, it was a command. My name is Claire Whitfield. I am 29, and that night marked the moment my entire family finally fractured completely. I work as a hospice nurse. Most of my days are spent beside people in their last hours, holding hands that no one else will hold. My own relatives never considered that real work. My brother Tyler was the shining favorite, the successful corporate attorney, the one around whom every holiday somehow centered. So I became the one who remained, the one who understood. The one no one ever thought to consult. It had gone on for years. Thanksgiving 2021, they pretended Grandpa was ill so I would cancel my own plans while they relaxed on a beach. Summer 2023, a 45-minute medical appointment became the reason I stayed home while they raised wine glasses in Napa. Then May 2024, the worst of them, when I had to invent an excuse and miss my best friend's wedding because my brother needed to network. Every time I accepted it. I told myself that was simply how families operated. Then came this Christmas. 11 consecutive overnight shifts to free my schedule, and my mother took it from me with a single phone call and a note left on the counter, stating they were flying to Europe for 2 weeks while I remained behind with Grandpa. I did not protest. The following day I drove home to a quiet house, and that is when everything shifted. My grandfather looked at me with an unusual stillness in his eyes and asked one plain question: "Are you ready to begin?" I did not understand what he meant, yet I nodded. Over the following week, I tended to him exactly as I tended to my patients: medications, meals, quiet conversation. For the first time, someone truly inquired about my work and listened. On Christmas Eve, he placed an envelope in my hands. Inside was a check for $5,000 and a letter that broke me open. He had observed in silence for years, every trip, every fabricated reason, every occasion I was pushed aside. Then came the sentence that altered everything. He was not a man of modest means. Behind the flannel shirts and the aging car lay a fortune exceeding $20 million, and he meant to leave nearly all of it to me. 2 days later, my family returned from their $32,000 European holiday with no notion of what awaited them. The next morning, his attorney appeared carrying a briefcase full of documents. My father assumed it was a routine matter. My brother dismissed it with a laugh. Then the figure was spoken aloud. $20,180,000. My mother nearly let her coffee fall. And then the division: $15.2 million to me, $3 million to hospice charities. To my father, my mother, and my brother, nothing. The room erupted. My brother shouted that I had influenced a vulnerable old man. My mother wept tears that were both genuine and performed. My father insisted on an explanation, as though the will itself were a personal affront. My grandfather quieted them all, opened a worn notebook, and read aloud every date, every falsehood, every excuse, every instance they had chosen convenience over me. He told them clearly this was not retribution. It was recognition for the only person in the family who had ever appeared without expecting anything in return. He offered them one opportunity: 200 volunteer hours at a care facility, a sincere handwritten apology, and 4 family therapy sessions. If they genuinely changed, I alone would decide whether they received up to $500,000 each. For a full year, I watched them go through the motions. My brother complained to patients that he was present only because he was required to be. My mother arrived late nearly half the time, asking how much longer until she could leave. My father avoided any real caregiving entirely. Their apology letters met the 500-word requirement, yet remained empty. My father's even began with the sentence, "I am writing this because the will demands it." In therapy, my mother eventually asked outright whether I would finally release the money now that the requirements had been met. 1 year to the day, I sat facing all 3 of them and slid a single sheet of paper across the table. $0, $0, $0. I told them they had given precisely the bare minimum, the same bare minimum they had given me for 10 years, and I was simply returning it. My brother struck the table and declared that we were family. I rose, met each of their eyes, and said quietly that they shared my blood, yet they had never truly been my family. Then I walked out and did not glance back. I built a life that finally belonged to me, a modest condominium purchased outright. A man named Daniel who had loved me long before he learned of any inheritance, and Sunday visits with the one person who had always truly seen me. Sitting with my grandfather that summer, he took my hand and asked whether I was happy. This time I did not pause. "Yes," I answered. He smiled and said he could finally see someone who had learned to choose herself, and that was the hardest thing anyone could ever do. Looking back, it was never about $20 million. It was about finally being recognized after a decade of remaining invisible inside my own family. I did not lose them that Christmas. I finally found myself.